The palace of Zephora floated high above the glowing plains, its crystalline towers shimmering in the pale light of two suns. From a distance it looked like a palace of dreams, but inside, chaos reigned. The queen's chambers were filled with a wailing sound that no one had been able to stop. The baby princess, only a few months old, cried endlessly. She kicked and squirmed, her large bright eyes searching desperately for something no one could offer. The queen, a tall alien with silver blue skin and eyes that shimmered like starlight, paced the floor in worry. Servants and caretakers surrounded the crib, each trying in vain to soothe the child. Holographic toys hovered around her, singing songs and projecting soft lights, but the princess only cried louder. The queen's voice, though calm, carried a sharp edge. "Try again. Surely one of you can calm her. Do you not see she suffers?" The caretakers shook their heads. One older alien whispered, "We have tried everything. She is different. Something in her mind rejects all we know." Others murmured among themselves, fear and frustration in their voices. The baby's crying had become more than a personal problem. It disrupted palace systems, affecting communication networks and even energy flows. The queen's advisors were worried. A child so connected to the palace's systems could become a threat if her distress continued. Outside, a human squad stationed as part of a diplomatic alliance watched the chaos unfold through a viewing window. The humans had been brought to Zephora to assist in security matters, and they were not accustomed to alien royalty behaving in such distress. Among them stood Captain Aaron Hayes. He was tall, with broad shoulders, calm eyes, and a quiet confidence that had earned him respect on many planets. He observed the scene thoughtfully, noting the baby's eyes darting anxiously at anyone who approached. He saw something the aliens did not. She was not angry, not sick. She was searching for a connection, a calm presence she could trust. When the queen requested human assistance, it was partly desperation and partly curiosity. Humans, she had been told, were different. They had an emotional intelligence the advanced systems of Zephora could not replicate. Aaron volunteered immediately, stepping into the room with careful caution. He moved slowly, making himself smaller in her sight, lowering his voice to a soft hum. The caretakers flinched slightly, unsure of what a human could possibly do that their technology could not. Aaron knelt beside the crib. "Hey there," he whispered, his voice low and even. He extended a hand, letting it rest gently near the baby without touching her. The infant blinked, her crying pausing for a fraction of a second. She watched him carefully. Aaron continued to hum softly, matching a rhythm he had learned from calming human infants. Then he picked up a small toy, spinning it slowly in front of her eyes. But unlike the holographic toys, he kept eye contact, his expression calm, warm, and patient. Something remarkable happened. The baby's tiny fingers reached out, brushing Aaron's hand. Her cry softened. She blinked and tilted her head as if recognizing him. A small, almost human-like smile appeared on her lips, and for the first time in hours, silence filled the room. The caretakers exchanged astonished looks. The queen herself stepped closer, eyes wide with surprise. "How?" she murmured. Aaron shook his head gently. "Sometimes," he said quietly, "it's not what you have. It's how you are. She wants someone steady, someone who does not panic. She can feel it." The queen studied him closely. Humans had always seemed fragile, their technology primitive compared to Zephora. Yet here was proof that their strength lay elsewhere, in empathy, in presence, in courage. The baby cooed now, reaching for Aaron's face. He smiled, careful to move slowly, and allowed her to touch his cheek. The room, once filled with frustration and panic, seemed to breathe with relief. However, not everyone was pleased. In the corners of the room, some advisors whispered to each other, their voices low but sharp with suspicion. They saw a human wielding influence over the royal infant as a potential threat. One particularly stern official muttered, "A human influencing the princess? This cannot be allowed. What if she becomes attached to him?" Others nodded, worry etched in their features. Trust in humans had always been tentative, and now it was being challenged by something simple yet profound: a baby's choice. Aaron sensed the tension but chose not to respond. Instead, he focused on the infant. He picked her up carefully, cradling her in his arms. She relaxed completely, her small body warm against him. The queen watched, astonished at how naturally the baby responded to this human soldier. It was more than a connection. It was a bond forming before their eyes. Outside the palace, alarms began to blare suddenly. The low hum of the palace energy grids shifted, and the walls vibrated faintly. The baby stirred in Aaron's arms, a flicker of distress crossing her face. He held her tighter. "It's okay," he murmured. "I'm right here." The palace security team rushed in. "Sabotage!" one officer shouted. "Someone is trying to breach the lower levels. We don't know who or why." The queen's face paled. The baby began to cry again, but this time it was different, urgent, sensing danger beyond the nursery. Aaron tightened his hold, rocking her gently. His calm presence began to reach her again, her cries softening into whimpers. "Captain Hayes," the queen said, her voice urgent but composed, "you must take her to a secure location now." Aaron nodded. He moved quickly yet carefully, carrying the princess through the labyrinthine corridors. The palace shimmered with technology, automated doors, energy shields, floating patrol drones, but none of it mattered to the baby. She responded only to his presence. He whispered softly, telling her stories of faraway worlds, of stars, of brave humans who had faced impossible odds. Slowly, her wide eyes relaxed, and she snuggled into him, trusting completely. Meanwhile, the saboteurs moved silently through the lower levels. Their intentions were unknown, but the palace systems were already showing signs of disruption. Lights flickered, communication grids stuttered, and automated defenses misfired. Aaron, noticing the unusual patterns, realized this was no ordinary attack. Whoever was behind this had studied the palace carefully. He placed the princess in a secure crib in a shielded chamber. She looked at him, reaching out her tiny hand. He smiled, stroking her forehead gently. "I'll be right outside," he promised. The queen, watching from a safe distance, felt a mix of relief and admiration. Humans, she thought, were truly remarkable, not because of their technology, but because of their courage and calm hearts. Aaron returned to the corridors, analyzing the situation. Using both human ingenuity and the palace's technology, he coordinated a defense, directing security drones and guards with precision. The saboteurs were skilled, but they underestimated the humans' quick thinking and adaptability. They breached a section of the lower level, only to find themselves confronted by a human soldier who moved with both courage and strategy. Tension filled the palace as alarms blared and lights flashed. The baby's cries echoed faintly from the secure chamber, a reminder of what was at stake. Each time Aaron passed by, she calmed slightly at the sight of him, a silent bond giving him strength. He realized then that humans had something the aliens did not: the ability to inspire trust, even in beings far different from themselves. Hours passed in this delicate balance of chaos and control. The saboteurs pressed their attack, but Aaron's calm leadership and quick decisions kept the palace defenses in order. Finally, the attackers retreated, confused and overwhelmed by strategies they had not anticipated. The palace sighed in collective relief. Aaron returned to the princess, who now smiled up at him with bright, trusting eyes. The queen approached, her expression softened. "Captain Hayes," she said, "you have done what none of us could. You have calmed my child and you have saved our palace. I do not know how to thank you." Aaron shrugged, a small smile on his face. "It was easy," he said simply. "Sometimes all a child or a palace needs is someone steady to stand beside them." The queen looked at him thoughtfully. She realized that humans were not like the aliens of Zephora. They were brave, adaptable, and above all empathetic. And here, in this moment, one human had made a difference no technology could replicate. The princess reached out, her tiny hand grasping Aaron's finger. It was a simple gesture, but it spoke volumes. The queen understood. A bond had formed, one that would shape the future in ways they could not yet imagine. And as the sun set over Zephora, casting a golden glow over the palace towers, Aaron Hayes held the alien princess close, knowing that this was only the beginning of an extraordinary journey. The palace of Zephora was quiet for only a moment. Outside, the attackers were regrouping and the tension inside grew heavier. Captain Aaron Hayes had returned the princess to her secure chamber, but his mind was already racing. He could not afford to be passive. Every system, every corridor, every guard mattered now. The saboteurs were skilled, and the palace itself, though advanced, could not protect itself without someone who could think and act quickly under pressure. He took a deep breath and reviewed the palace maps on his handheld device. The attackers had exploited weak points in the lower levels. targeting energy conduits and communication grids. If they succeeded, the entire city above could face disruption. Aaron moved quickly, directing security drones and guards, coordinating a defense strategy that combined human adaptability with alien technology. Meanwhile, the princess lay quietly in her crib. Though only a few months old, her eyes were wide and observant, and when she saw Aaron through the glass, she smiled faintly, recognizing her protector. It was an instinctive bond, one that gave Aaron a sense of calm and determination. He realized then why humans had always survived against overwhelming odds: the courage to act, the patience to endure, and the empathy to connect even in the most critical moments. The saboteurs advanced through the lower corridors, but Aaron's human intuition allowed him to anticipate their moves. He positioned guards strategically and rerouted energy fields to block potential entry points. When the attackers reached a junction expecting an easy passage, they found themselves trapped between human ingenuity and alien defense systems working in tandem. Aaron had adapted the alien technology to human tactics, a combination no one had expected. Hours passed, and the tension inside the palace grew. Alarms echoed through the halls, lights flickered, and the sounds of conflict reverberated from below. Yet each time Aaron returned briefly to the princess's chamber, her calm presence reminded him of what was truly at stake. He whispered softly to her, telling her stories of bravery, of worlds humans had explored, and of the courage it took to stand for what is right. The baby cooed and reached for his hand, a small gesture that reinforced his resolve. The attackers, frustrated and confused by the resistance, began to panic. They had expected the palace to crumble under the first strike, but the humans had proven adaptable, resourceful, and fearless. Aaron used this moment to lead a counterattack. He moved through the corridors with precision, using a combination of human agility and quick thinking to disable the saboteurs' equipment and block their routes. Each step was careful, measured, yet decisive. Finally, the saboteurs were cornered. The remaining attackers surrendered or fled into the lower tunnels, leaving the palace secure once more. Aaron surveyed the damage, checking the energy conduits, the communication grids, and the palace defenses. The systems were damaged but recoverable. His focus then shifted immediately back to the princess, who had been watching the events unfold with alert curiosity. She reached out, her small hand grasping his finger again, and he smiled. The queen approached, her eyes reflecting both relief and admiration. "Captain Hayes," she said softly, "your actions have saved my child, and you have saved our palace. You have done what no other could have done. I am deeply grateful." Aaron shook his head. "It was not just me," he said. "It was the guards, the technology, and a little help from someone very brave over here." He gestured to the princess, who cooed and waved her tiny hands. The queen's lips curved into a gentle smile. She studied him closely, realizing that humans were unlike any other species Zephora had known. Their strength was not in technology, not in raw power, but in courage, quick thinking, and the ability to connect with others, even across species. Aaron's calm presence and bravery had not only protected the palace, but had demonstrated why humans were considered exceptional allies. In the days that followed, the palace recovered from the sabotage attempt. Repairs were made, security systems strengthened, and the princess was once again calm and content, largely due to Aaron's continued presence. The queen requested that he stay near the royal family to provide guidance and protection, not just as a soldier but as someone the princess trusted. Aaron agreed, humbled but determined. He understood the importance of trust, of steady hands and a calm heart. Each day he would spend time with the princess, playing quietly, telling her stories and keeping her safe. In doing so, he forged a bond that transcended species, demonstrating the unique human qualities of empathy and courage. The palace officials who had doubted him before now looked on with new respect. Even those who had feared the influence of a human on the royal infant could see the truth. Aaron's presence brought stability, hope, and protection. In the human way, he led not by fear or domination, but by example, by care, and by calm courage in the face of danger. One evening, as the sun set and the palace glowed in soft golden light, the queen approached Aaron and the princess in the nursery. The infant laughed, reaching out to Aaron's face, her trust complete. The queen spoke, her voice filled with sincerity. You have proven something extraordinary. Humans, they are not only brave, but they inspire trust, hope, and courage. My daughter will remember this. We will remember this. Aaron smiled, holding the princess gently. It is easy, he said quietly. All she needs is someone to be steady, someone who will not panic, someone who will care. That is what humans do. We care and we act. The queen nodded. In that moment, she understood why humans had become such valued allies across the galaxy. Their strength was not just in their hands or weapons, but in their hearts and minds. They could inspire, protect, and unite in ways that no machine or alien technology could replicate. As night fell over the palace, the baby lay quietly in Aaron's arms, finally asleep. The queen watched them, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. A human soldier had not only saved her daughter, but had shown her family the true meaning of courage, empathy, and connection. And Aaron, holding the alien princess gently, knew that this was only the beginning. There would be more challenges ahead, more dangers to face, and more opportunities to show the human spirit at its finest. But for now, the palace was safe, the princess was calm, and a bond had been forged that would last far beyond the events of this day. In the silence of the nursery, broken only by the soft breathing of a sleeping child, the queen whispered softly to herself, "Humans? Perhaps they are exactly what we need." And in that quiet moment, the palace of Zephora seemed to shimmer with new hope, illuminated not just by alien suns, but by the extraordinary courage and empathy of a single human being.